Is he sweet, respectful, and charming, but he's got some trauma and he's showing signs of emotional unavailability? And although it seems like he's genuinely trying, he keeps you at a distance and you're just left sitting in his waiting room. Today, I'm going to show you how to identify if he's using you or wasting your time and where the line is that tells you you need to move on and stop waiting around for him. I have spent years waiting around for kind, sweet guys that were also emotionally unavailable, who I thought were genuine, only to realize that they were actually just using me to get their own needs met. And it wasn't until I learned where to draw the line that I was able to identify men that are not worth waiting around for because they were just using me. And if you want to learn how to better identify emotionally unavailable men and stop wasting your time being hooked on them, this is the work that I teach my clients. If you'd like to know more about how to work with me, book a free strategy session with me so I can best guide you on that journey. The link to my calendar is below. Now, emotionally unavailable men cannot access deeper emotions required to form a secure bond. That is simply what emotionally unavailable means. They might be working on themselves. They might appear to be healing. They might be in therapy doing all of the things, and they might come across as genuine, heartfelt, and vulnerable. But if they're not 100% honest with themselves and they're not able to be 100% honest with themselves, they may be using you, and you might just be a stepping stone on his healing journey. So it's important to know the level at which a secure bond can form is the level at which each person knows themselves, and it's actually up to you to discern that about him. So the type of man we're looking for is a consistent man, and this is a man who, what he says about himself, his values, his character, his ideals and morals, you actually see that in him. He's living it every day. There's clear congruency between his words and actions. This is an emotionally available man who is ready to form a secure bond. He might make mistakes and he owns up for them, takes responsibility for them. You're never actually left feeling like something doesn't add up or there's something missing, as opposed to inconsistent men. Now, good men are also emotionally unavailable. I'm just going to say that again. Good, lovely, kind men are also emotionally unavailable. They can mean well, they're not trying to hurt you. It just happens as a side effect of their unresolved issues and trauma. And they may or may not be aware of the extent of them, even if they're in therapy. So they're going to be really inconsistent. They're going to be sweet and affectionate, then they might ignore your calls or texts the next day. Or just when you're with them, there's kind of an uncertainty as to how they're going to respond. They might say something that then days later turns around and he says he didn't say it or he didn't mean it, or he might back off after a certain level of intimacy has been established by the two of you, like he's reeled you in but then gets cold feet. And this is because he's never really done commitment before. He has a history of short-term relationships and he's really good at using phrases to reel you in, but also to keep things vague, right? Not using any labels, and you're just left feeling like you don't know where you stand. So these are signs that he's actually using you and isn't genuine. So using by definition is an exchange where one person's needs are being met and the other person doesn't feel it's reciprocal. So ask yourself, is he meeting your needs? Firstly, do you know what your needs are, or are you downplaying, ignoring, or shape-shifting your needs into thinking you don't have any or you hardly have any? If you're always giving and bending to accommodate what he wants and he doesn't reciprocate, this is why you're feeling used, right? Even if he's kind and sweet and seems genuine, someone using you has an agenda, even unconsciously. And I'm not saying that this is malicious. He might be totally genuine and not even realize that this is going on, but he's not actually going to be interested in all of you, just enough to get his needs met. I even had a guy say to me once whilst he was helping me in the kitchen, have I done enough to make it seem like I care? And it just blew me away in the moment that he had the gall to actually say that. It was obviously a total red flag. He was just doing the bare minimum, and he was actually being very open about his thought process. He was a sweet, kind person who was also just so interested in only having his own needs met. Same guy would say things like, you would really love this. And I realized that because he rarely asked me questions about myself and showed little interest in me, I thought, well, hang on, how would you actually know what I love? He was using these terms and phrases to reel me in, and he was acting like he knew me, but I knew from the exchange that he didn't actually know those certain things that I liked, and ironically, I didn't like them. So someone using you might act like they care, but haven't actually taken the time to get to know you. and they're prioritizing their own desires and needs and doing what they need to have them met. So where do we draw the line with people like this? Even with all of this clear data about him being emotionally unavailable and frankly selfish, even though he's got this kind of sweet exterior, you might still be struggling to leave. There's enough pulling you in and you're still convinced that he's genuine or he's the one, or you've got this amazing connection and he's not actually trying to use you. He probably isn't trying to use you, using as a byproduct of his unresolved trauma, right? This is happening subconsciously. And you might think he's a good guy deep down, and if you just love him enough, he'll turn around. Or you feel you can fix him with your love, or what you have is just so special that it's worth waiting around for. Now, a user is going to keep taking without giving. And this fits perfectly into your wound of not being enough, because your giving and not receiving plays into that wound you have. So you deep down don't feel worthy of receiving because of your own unresolved issues. So you see how this kind of relationship can get really sticky because of your unresolved issues. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment that you're on the receiving end of everything you're giving to this guy, right? You are no doubt being respectful, attentive, flexible, genuinely interested and happy just to get to know all of them. So I want you to imagine someone to you is respectful, attentive, flexible with you, genuinely interested and happy just to get to know all of you. Now flick back to the wasteland you're living with this person, where you're just giving to him and hardly receiving anything. Like, how much longer are you willing to empty yourself in a relationship with someone that doesn't give back? I have a simple formula for you to know where to draw the line is. So I want you to take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and on the right hand side, what you're going to do is write a list of all the needs you're having met by this guy. Everything you're loving, all the good stuff. Take your time. There might just be a few, there might be a lot, go for it. Then on the left-hand side, I want you to write out your needs that aren't being met. Now, this is going to take you a little bit more of effort because you might think you don't have many needs, but in fact you do, or you should have those needs. You might have downplayed them. So here's an example of a list that I put together for that said guy I mentioned. On the right-hand side, the needs that I was having met was that they were exciting, fun company. You know, we had great companionship when he was around. Great sex, intimate moments were lovely, and he was sometimes supportive and comforting. And on the left are the needs that I wasn't getting met by this person. There was no consistency of building a relationship together. It was completely random and all over the place. I didn't feel like I was being known deeply and truly for who I was. There wasn't really any day-to-day stability as well. He was very inconsistent with his communication. There was no certainty of how the relationship was progressing. There was no certainty of how he felt about me or feelings developing over time. And I just didn't feel fully seen, heard, and understood. And that intermittent contact was giving me anxiety and overwhelm. Now, I know that there are a whole lot more needs there that I didn't write down. That was just what was off the top of my head. But I want you to look at your list now and really be honest with yourself. Ask yourself this golden question. Are you willing to sacrifice the needs on the left for the needs on the right? Are you willing to sacrifice those needs, all those things that you are worthy of having, for the needs that you are getting met right now, which are probably pretty superficial, and you could have them met from any other person who might actually really genuinely care and be interested in you? Now, chances are, once you really start to get into the nuts and bolts of what needs you aren't having met, your list on the left is pretty long. And just recognize the fact that at the moment, what's on the right is pulling you in, but it really isn't enough, right? So let's look at this list from a place of worthiness. You are worthy of all of your needs to be met enough of the time. No one can meet all of our needs all the time. We're all human beings, we're all flawed, but most of the time, enough of your needs are met. Would you let a loved one or a friend sacrifice all those needs on the left to stay with someone? Chances are you wouldn't. This is the line you need to draw with yourself. You are worthy of having the vast majority of your needs met, and this person is barely meeting just a few. There are emotionally available men out there who are ready to love you all of you and listen to you and meet your needs, particularly when you speak up and communicate them with them. And it's up to you to believe that you're worthy of that and act from that place. So I really encourage you to draw that line, really do that exercise. And if you're finding you need more additional support around breaking out of this pattern and recognizing the person that you're interested in is just using you, this is the work that I do with my clients inside Heal Your Heart School. So I'd love if you book a free consultation call with me in my calendar link below so that we can speak together and I can best guide you on that journey. In the meantime, here are some other videos on my channel to help you move one step further to having a beautiful, healthy relationship with yourself and to others. And for now, I'll see you in the next video.